when it was time for worship, for one, it's in a different language. They were so hospitable. They had a section for tourists, the people who were coming in that weren't, that didn't speak Hebrew. And so they had songbooks or Bibles. We had a couple of Bibles that were Hebrew and English so that we could try to follow along. But the worship itself, the leader actually told us, we are not performing for you. We're talking to God. So I will turn my back on you and worship. And sure enough, he literally turned around, faced what happened to be the Torah. They had the little enclosure and the Torah in glass, but and he proceeded to lead worship. And he was a happy, happy, happy man. So, I mean, he was bouncy and he was doing his thing, and he could care less whether we were observing him or not. And I just thought that was the sweetest thing, because what was the quote I ran across yesterday? In order to lead the orchestra, you have to turn your back on the crowd.
Yeah.
And he turned his back on the crowd. And I'm not saying that we have to face away from our congregation, but internally, you have to be able to shut everything off and focus on God. And that was just a really cool.
And there are people in the mainstream church that do that. And I'm not, and absolutely, I've seen them. I've witnessed that, that it was really about worshiping the Lord. It was about praising him to them. That's what they were there for. And they were very good at what they did, in the sense that they could lead us to a place. And I remember going up to a man who was leading once, and I said, I hope that you understand what I'm going to say, and that and how I mean it. And he goes, okay. And he was a little suspicious, but I said, I forgot you were up there leading.
That's a worship leader, when you can inspire people to worship to the extent that they forget you're there.
Yeah. I said, you just kind of faded into the worship, and I forgot you were even leading. And he did take it as I meant it.
Huge compliment. Yeah.
So
I had a thought. What was it? Oh, and I wish worship leaders in general were aware of the fact that if your worshipers are actually worshiping in spirit and in truth, they know when you're lying.
Yeah.
They know when you're faking it.
Yeah.
They know when you're a distraction instead of an inspiration.
Yeah.
And I think if more of them really truly understood that, they quit faking it. They would quit performing.
Yeah. My husband has this gifting that when he worships the Lord, when he's truly worshiping the Lord, and in a place that is also where there's corporate worship going on around him, he will have faces of people pop in his mind, and he goes, I've never seen these people, but he goes, the Lord speaks to me and he shows me people to pray for. And he goes, some of the faces I've never ever seen before in my life. And he goes, but he goes, I know that the Holy Spirit is in a place when I start getting faces to pray for during worship.
Wow.
And so there was a church that we were at, and for a couple of years, and he's like, it never happened there. It never happened. And it was sad,